That one will get you spelled wrong. It's Kedrovsky. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 20. That's where we're at. Yeah, we've been working our way through. David's entering into a crisis kind of season of his life. It's been a little up and down. He's been in the presence of Saul, and then Saul tries to kill him. He's been in the presence of Saul, Saul tries to kill him. Go to war for me, comes back, Saul tries to kill him, right? I'm going to give you a wife. Just kidding, takes her away, and he's like, okay, I'll give you a different wife. So a lot of stuff's going on. But as we hit chapter 20, things are just going to kind of keep going downhill for a while. David's going to go on the run, and David's going to be all over the place. At the end of 19, we saw David had to go on the run again because Saul was trying to kill him. And we'll be shifting out of the relationships of the king, and we'll be looking at just kind of the path to the throne, because it's going to be a long time from that anointing to the throne. Here in chapter 19, we'll spend 2 weeks here. We'll look at two different things. We're going to look at the power of friendships, because we're going to see David and Jonathan engaging together again. And then we're going to see the power of anger or jealousy. And then we'll do that next week. This week we're going to look at friendships. Next time we'll look at Saul and Saul's anger and the impacts that it has, and how anger can mess up our lives. So make sure you're here next week, everyone. I'm not looking at anyone in particular. I'm not calling you out for your anger. I'm just saying we all need to know how to deal with anger and jealousy and those emotions too. So be here for that. All right, but this week we'll look at the friendlier side, the friendship side. All right, I'm going to start reading 1 Samuel 20. It's a fair amount of reading to get through all the chapter, but I think we should hear God's word. So I'm going to read parts of it, and then we'll make some comments, and we'll keep going with the reading. So 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 1. And David fled from Naioth in Ramah, and came and said unto Jonathan, and said before Jonathan, What have I done? What is mine iniquity? And what is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh my life? And he said unto him, God forbid, thou shalt not die. Behold, my father will do nothing, either great or small, but he will show it me first. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. And David sware moreover, and said, Thy father certainly knoweth that I have found grace in thine eyes. And he said, Let not Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is but a step between me and death. Then said Jonathan unto David, Whatsoever thy soul desireth, I will even do it for thee. And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day at even. If thy father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me, that he might run to Bethlehem his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. If he say thus, It is well, thy servant shall have peace. But if he be very wroth, then be sure that evil is determined by him. Therefore thou shalt deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, slay me thyself. And why shouldest thou bring me to thy father? And we'll start there. Let me pray, and we'll look at the first thought here. Lord God, we love you, and we do thank you for the praises that we heard earlier, and the way that you're moving and saving people and opening doors for Bible studies and connecting hearts. And God, that's amazing. And at the same time, there are hard things going on, and we know that you will walk with us through the hard things and will guide us. And should we ask for it, Lord, you give comfort, and you'll give counsel as well. Lord, lead us as we open your word this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so 3 things that we're going to see today. I'll give them to you up front, and we'll talk about them. 3 components of good relationships that we see modeled here from David and Jonathan. Number 1 is communication. We'll talk about communication. Number 2 is confidence. Number 3 is companionship or company. All right, so those are the 3 things that we'll look at in these relationships. And so you see the first thing that happens, David is on the run again. Remember, where is he leaving from? He's going from Naioth because he was with Samuel. And remember when he went on the run, where did he go, right? Him and Jonathan talked, and then the first place he went was to his wife. That was good. Then he had to flee from his wife. And so, he runs to Samuel, and now he's left Samuel, and where does he go? He goes right back to Jonathan. This is the kind of friendship that they have. This is the kind of relationship that when his life is on the line, he runs again to Jonathan. Now, he's going to start by asking Jonathan a really hard question, right? He's going to show up, and this is the thing about good relationships, good friendships, good communication within relationships. Good friendships, good relationships can handle hard questions. And this is an important part of having a real and meaningful relationship. Because David shows up and says, Jonathan, your dad is trying to kill me, bro. And Jonathan, actually he says, no, that's not how it's going. Jonathan doesn't have all the data. Jonathan doesn't know everything that David knows. But that's a hard thing to say, right? Can you imagine going over to your friend's house and saying, hey, your dad's trying to kill me? That's going to make a little awkward in your friendship. That's the kind of thing that has the potential to destroy a friendship, right? To break a relationship apart. But this friendship is able to handle the weight of this hard conversation. And that's an important idea. So, David says it and Jonathan denies it because Jonathan just doesn't have the data yet that David has. But here's the thing. When he says it, Jonathan doesn't take great offense to that. Jonathan doesn't get all worked up. Jonathan doesn't get defensive with David. He's like, no, David, what are you saying about my dad? You can't talk about my dad like that. We're going to fight. That would have been cool. David and Jonathan had a fight. That would have been like brothers, though. These guys are close. That would have been cool, though. Maybe in heaven. I don't know if there's like wrestling tournaments just for fun. But like, can we see David and Jonathan? Probably doesn't count when you got heavenly bodies. That'd be different. Never mind. But this is what happens, right? When we don't have strong relationships and we don't know how to communicate well. Now, there's an aspect of communication that happens here, right? If you're going to say something hard, you have to know how to communicate it to that person. First of all, you have to know at what level, how much hard stuff can I say to this relationship? Because not every relationship can handle all the hard stuff. And not all the hard stuff needs to be said. Okay? Don't go around destroying your friendships because you feel like, well, I have to say truth. Guilty. Like I get that because I'm quick to say things. I'm quick to say hard things. I don't have a problem saying hard things and offending people. I know I've hurt my own friends. And as we talk about friendship, you should also read spouse into that and children, right? All of these relationships that we have. I'm quick to say a hard thing and sometimes without love and just be like, well, it's true. Maybe. But we don't have to communicate it like that, right? And so David is freaked out. It sounds like your dad's trying to kill me. Jonathan could have taken that personally. There's maturity on both sides of this coin here. There's a lot of maturity with Jonathan. Jonathan could have taken that personally. Or he could do what he did, which is to say, okay, well, let's figure this thing out. David said, trust me, you don't know what I know about your dad. He is trying to kill me. And at first, Jonathan defends his dad, but then he takes a step back. He goes, okay, well, then let's work through this. Now, that's a real mature position. When somebody comes to you with some really hard news, especially if you don't believe it, especially if it's about your family, right? When a Kid Town worker comes to you and says, I need to tell you about your son, your daughter. I need to tell you what happened today. And your first response is, no, my kid doesn't act like that. My kid doesn't talk like that. Kid Town worker's thinking, I know where they got it. I see it right now. Don't freak out. Let's be mature and let's slow down and say, okay, tell me more. Walk me through this. Let's get the kid in here. Kid, tell me what happened. Let's just have a fact-finding mission. And that can be kind of hard when people are emotional, especially with kids at certain ages. They get really emotional, right? And you have to say, this isn't accusatory. This isn't blame. This is, let's just talk about what really happened so I know all the data. No good decision can be made with half of the data. There's a saying, I think it's Shakespeare because it sounds like Shakespeare. It says, beware of one hand clapping. It's very poetic. What does that mean? Right? It means if there's a lot of noise, there has to be another side to the story. Right? If all you're getting is one side, you don't have the whole picture. And so if you get somebody telling you something, don't get all worked up. I'm not saying don't trust Kid Town. They're probably telling you the truth. But slow down and let's do what Jonathan did. Okay, tell me about it. Okay, let's make a plan. Let me go explore this out with my dad. And that's the plan they're going to set up. And they're going to figure all of this stuff out. This is how healthy friendships should work. Mark is over here proving to me that he can clap with one hand. He's over here. Oh. Here's what relationships should be like. Proverbs 27:9. Ointment and perfume rejoice the heart, so doth the sweetness of a man's friend by hearty counsel. Right? So good friendships, we should be able to trust one another in conversation, and we should be able to give counsel. I trust my friends to give me counsel. And again, when I say friend, I mean wife as well. And like my wife should be able to give me counsel and to say things like, James, you're not being a very good husband today. James, you suck. Whatever. However you guys have agreed to talk to each other appropriately. Yeah. But when they do, how should I respond? That should be like ointment. That should be like a perfume. I should receive that as a sweet savor. Because what they're trying to do is protect me, to help me grow, to recover me out of some problem maybe that's going on right now. And so Jonathan offers support to David in his crisis. This is an important part of being a friend. This is part of his communication. Not only does he talk about it, but he says, look, I am here. I am with you in this. Okay, listen. At first I didn't believe it, but let's figure this thing out. He knows how to communicate to his friend in distress. David is at this high, pressure, high tension situation, and Jonathan says, okay. He's going to calm him down a little. They're going to work this out. They're going to make a plan. Job chapter 17 and verse 5. He that speaketh flattery to his friends, even the eyes of his children shall fail. This is a warning. Proverbs 27:6, same type of idea. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. And what it's saying is this, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago when we were talking about David and Jonathan. Job says, you don't want the kinds of friends that only flatter you. They'll only have good and nice things to say to you. You need, because what are those? Those, well, they will cause you to fail, and it will affect even into the next generation. You need truth, because faithful are the wounds of a friend. A friend can come, a good brother can come and can say a hard thing, and in the moment you might feel like, you cut me. That hurt. But it's faithful. They didn't do it to break you. They did it because, well, pruning hurts. Right? They did it because sometimes we got to work some things out of our life, and that hurts. But the kisses of an enemy, that's deceitful. Right? So you get that friend that only has nice things to say, that always supports you. By the way, if you're in a leadership position, this is real big danger. You don't want yes men if you're a leader. You want people that will stand up to you. If all you have are people that kiss you all the time and flatter you, they're an enemy. They will not help your business or your endeavor or your spiritual life. The same thing is true as disciplers as well. There are hard things that need to be said. So this relationship that David and Jonathan have, they have developed over time, and it is able to handle the weight of this hard conversation. That's important. We need to know the limits of where we're at. I don't have to say everything, or I don't have to maybe put all the weight into it that I need to. Maybe I need to introduce something, let's just say to my wife. I say, hey, wife, we need to have a talk. And she says, yeah, this is important practical stuff. She says, I'm real busy. Can we do it tonight after we put the kids to bed? And if that's feasible, I'll say, yeah. If it's a real emergency, if I think your dad's trying to kill me, I might say, no. Can we have this conversation now? I need you to clear some time off. And okay, so set some boundaries. Let's figure out what we're going to talk. And I'm going to say, you know what? Your dad's trying to kill me. And, right? Like I need to, but maybe I don't need to put all of the weight into it. I need to get the basics out there. Maybe we need to work through step 1 now and let that settle before we move into step 2. Does that make sense? And before we move into step 3. And I know some of you are like, I got a problem. Here's all of it. Pow! Let's deal with step 25 all at once. Wait a minute. Now, then you wonder why your friend, your spouse, your child is like broken and can't engage with you for the next few days, and they're afraid to be around you, and they're quiet. And you're like, what's wrong? And they're like, well, you crushed me. You crushed me. All right. Nobody's father or father-in-law is trying to kill him. Hopefully. If that's your case, get the police involved. All right? They'll deal with that. But the principles are there. So, listen, here's the key. Hard conversations strengthen good friendships, not weaken them. When there's maturity on both sides, when I can come without attacking and especially without making it personal, but you did this, you're responsible. I need to know how to come in the right form of communication, and the other person needs to know how to receive well. And when both people are mature, then we can have these hard conversations. And that only makes us stronger. How often do you think pastors disagree and get in arguments in the pastor's meeting? Argument might be strong. But just bring up a topic and then we have differing opinions. How often do you think that happens? Every Tuesday, yeah. It's like almost every week when something comes up, like there's people on different sides of the equation, and sometimes they're strong. Sometimes these conversations go on for weeks, months, years even. We have issues that we've talked about for years, right? But not consistently, but it'll just keep coming back up. And we need to work through it. And we take steps. And that makes us stronger. We can have these conversations and we can disagree. And the closest relationships that I have in this world are people that have not been afraid to disagree and to tell me hard things and to help me see things that I can't see. Why? Because we all have blind spots. You have blind spots. And you need someone that can see it and then can lovingly help you with it. And so they make a plan. And so that's what happens next. And so, David says, hey, here's the plan. I'm going to go hide in the field. You go talk to your dad. If he's cool with it, then I'm wrong. But if he gets worked up and he's mad about it, that proves the fact that he wanted me there so he can kill me. And then you're going to come out into the field. This is what the next section says. And Jonathan's going to shoot some arrows. And David will be hiding in the field. And then he's going to send a boy to pick him up. And Jonathan says, if I specifically say, no, the arrows are farther, keep going, that means my dad's trying to kill you. Right? So they develop, like all good friends, a secret code. They've got their own little language. You listen to some 8th graders talking to their friends. You ever drive kids around in the car? Simone commented on this like a year ago. I remember in one of our groups, I think you'd picked my kids up and you commented, you're like, I'm just listening to kids in the back of the car talk. And it's like they got their own little language and their own codes, or I think like they're trying to talk about politics. I think it was President Trump. They're like, we need our 9-year-old minds to talk about President Trump. Okay. Like all good friends, they develop a little secret code here, and that's good. You do it too, right? We're your best friends. You got inside jokes. That's not designed to keep people on the outside, but it's like, if I look at my brother And this won't make any sense to you, but if I say 7:49, he'll start laughing. Because that makes sense to him. That's just something that we did together and we lived together, right? Yeah, all right. So, we need those kind of relationships, and good relationships have that. Good relationships can look at each other and say something that won't make sense to anybody else. You got something in mind. You want to say it to me right now. Oh, okay. You laughing and looking at me like, ha ha. That's good. That's good. You should, right? That's a good, healthy relationship. But listen, being a good friend does require you both to have thick skin and a soft delivery. You need to be tough and soft at the same time. Because there will be times when your friends might come at you a little hard. They didn't mean it. Maybe they got worked up. Their emotions got a hold of them. You be thick-skinned. Don't let that destroy your relationship. And remember that a soft answer, yes, turn the way around. So we respond softly. All right, so good communication happens next. And then there's confidence. The next thing I want us to look at is confidence. There's this confidence built into this relationship. Verse 8. Therefore, this is the end of David talking. Therefore, thou shalt deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee, notwithstanding, here's what David ends on. Notwithstanding, if there be any iniquity, slay me thyself. For why wouldest thou bring me to thy father? Listen, this is the confidence and the way that they can communicate. David tells Jonathan, and this isn't hyperbole. This is David being literal. If there's iniquity in me, if I'm worthy of death, don't deliver me to your dad. You kill me. I would rather die at your hand. Just kill me now. I mean, dang. By the way, typically, if you're saying that like emotion, if you get worked up in your emotions and you bring like death and divorce into your discussions with your friend or especially your spouse, that is not healthy. That is off the table. That is not the way we fight. We don't get into a disagreement and say, well, then maybe we're better off apart. Never. Make it a rule. Make it a law between both of you. Agree. We covenanted before God and some body of witnesses that says till death do us part, and we will stick with that. Doesn't matter how hard it is now, we will work it out. Right? Okay, so we're not going to fight that way. But David is just being literal. He's like, if I am unrighteous, you should kill me. All right? So there's a lot of confidence here. He is trusting Jonathan with his life. The situation that he's being put in, he has enough faith in this friendship that he trusts Jonathan with his life. Because he's asking Jonathan to go in before his father and then to be able to come back and to bring him a report and let me know. Is my life truly in danger or not? This confidence also is going to extend to their ability or responsibility to hold one another accountable to the Lord. So not only is there enough confidence that I can trust you with my life, there's enough confidence that I can trust you with my spiritual life as well. Good friends should hold each other accountable to the Lord. So that ties back into saying these hard things, but we should watch each other and see where each other are at, see where our friends are at, ask them the hard questions, tell them the hard things. And this is what they do here in verses 8 through 17. First, David reminds Jonathan of the covenant that they'd already made together before the Lord. Remember, they made a covenant together just a couple chapters back because they're great friends. And he reminds them, I'm holding you accountable. I'm reminding you of the covenant we made. Great picture of marriage as well. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 11 and 12. Jonathan is also a great type, a great picture of the virtuous woman. I know it's a weird thing to say. But the virtuous woman, it says this of her, the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Right? The virtuous woman, the thing about being married to that woman is the husband goes, I got full confidence in this woman. And this is the relationship that David and Jonathan have. David is treating Jonathan like that. I have full confidence in you. I have no reason to fear. I know that you will do good and not evil to me all the days of your life. He is sending Jonathan on his behalf to go and to figure out if his life is in danger or not. And so they remind each other of the covenant that they'd already made. And then it's interesting, Jonathan starts to speak in verse 11. And Jonathan said unto David, come and let us go out into the field. And they went out, both of them, into the field. And this is where they set up their plan. But look what he says in verse 12. And Jonathan said unto David, O Lord God of Israel. That's an interesting shift. He's like, Sean, come out here. Let's talk. And then I go, oh, Lord God of Israel. He's not even talking to David anymore, right? He shifts, but he brings David, and the confidence that he also has is this. He has this confidence that he can open up his heart. He can be real. He can open up about spiritual things, and he's going to make some declarations before the Lord in front of David. Strong friends are built on spiritual ties, and they're not afraid also to have emotion and show emotion. You need friends that you can cry in front of. You need friends that you can be real in front of. So, and now he's actually going to make a new covenant. In verses 14 to 16, Jonathan is putting forth a new covenant. Verse 12, he says, I'm going to do this. Verse 13, the Lord do so and much more to Jonathan. But if it please my father to do thee evil, then I will show it thee and send thee away, that thou mayest go in peace, and the Lord be with thee, as he hath been with my father. And thou shalt not only while yet I live show me this kindness of the Lord, that I die not, but also thou shalt not cut off the kindness from my house forever. No, not when the Lord hath cut off the enemies of David, every one of them in the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemies. So here's a new covenant. They already had a covenant between each other. Now they have this perpetual covenant. And it's a really strong thing that Jonathan is recognizing here. Jonathan says, if this is true, if my dad is against you, then my dad is your enemy, and I already know God is on your side. And what Jonathan is saying here is, I know that if this is true, my father is going to be cut off. God will kill my father because God is with David. And the covenant is this. Jonathan says, but I'm with you. I'm with God's kingdom. And Jonathan in this moment is also recognizing there is a good chance that because he is also his father's son, that he will die in the process. He may be collateral damage or he's going to die too. And he says, when I die, the covenant is this. You will protect, you will uphold my household. My lineage will continue before you. Because the vision, the hope that they had is that they're in this kingdom together. Jonathan and David talk about that. Jonathan says it. He's like, my dad won't be king anymore, but I will be by your side when you're king. But if not, here's the new covenant. You'll take care of my kids. You'll watch over my kids as well. That's a lot of confidence. When we were preparing to go to Pakistan, we had to think through the real possibility that somebody there won't like the message that I'm sharing or that we're sharing, and that we could die. And we had to think about what we would do with our kids in that case. And we have an estate, we had to write up a will, we had to write up all these legal documents before we left. And we also had to consider, like, our parents are in their 70s, and are they the best fit? And we had to think about our friends, and we had to say, who could watch our kids? Do we have friends that we trust to carry on the next generation of what God has given us? And we had to go to some friends and say, hey, I know I'm about to make you cry, friend. If I die, will you take my kids? That's what I said to Brandon Briscoe, who's a crier anyway, of course. So, he cried, and then he said, yeah. So, all right. So it's that kind of a covenant. This is a covenant that they're making together. Jonathan knows that there's a good chance that he may not survive this whole thing when it plays out. But you, David, watch over my kids. And so there's also in this confidence, there's also a confidentiality. And this is an important part of relationships. Relationships have to be secure in their ability to tell you a secret, to tell you a thing, and to know that thing is locked down. I mean, there's no bigger secret than the one these two are working on. You go find out if your dad wants to kill me and then come back and tell me, don't let him know the whole plan we got. But good relationships know how to protect the thing that was said, right? Good relationships are able to keep a secret. Which means I don't get to gain points in a different relationship by talking about another relationship. And sometimes that's the way we gain points for popularity. It's through gossip. Hey, did you know what's going on? And they're like, oh, wow, thank you for telling me. Like, we feel like that binds us closer somehow. That doesn't. It only destroys the other relationship. Actually, it destroys both. You're building a relationship that on hurt and mistrust, and you're hurting and breaking your trust with the other person. So that's true in our marriages. That's true even with our children. Sometimes I have to go in and I have to deal with one child, and the other kids know I'm dealing with it, and they're going to say, Dad, what's going on? And I'm saying, none of your business. You don't want to know, because it wasn't fun. It's not something you want to be a part of. In discipleship, now there are times when you're going to need help. As a general rule, Rosie and I both do a fair amount of counseling, and there's times when she's going to feel like there's a situation that needs to go up the chain. I'm not just her husband, I'm also a pastor here at this church, and so that's the natural next step for her. But the rule is, I've said it to her, and she is on board. Don't just bring it to me. That's not fair to the relationship that you are in, right? You go to that person first and say, look, I think we need some more help. We need a pastor. Can I go and take this to James? And maybe they'll say, no, I don't want it because he's your husband. And she'll say, that's fine. I'm not offended. I don't even need to know that. And she'll say, that's fine. What pastor do you want me to talk to? Maybe they say, Pastor Sam. Great. She'll go to Sam and get some counsel. Look, but if you have a thing, make sure before you bring other people into that secret that person knows and is on board. That's an important part of keeping confidentiality and getting people to trust you. And as you grow in, and this is what I'm praying, that all of you are growing in your ability to counsel. Being a counselor means being able to hold things in confidentiality. Now, I'm going to throw this in here, right here as well, in terms of good relationships, and just say that not all relationships are good, and therefore not all relationships need a lot of investment or even need to continue. Deuteronomy 13, verses 6 to 9. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or thy wife of thy bosom, or thy friend which is as thine own soul, if your friend that is just like your own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth, even to the other end of the earth. Listen, if your friend says, let's go serve other gods, what's it say? Thou shalt not consent unto him. So, I'm just throwing this in there because I thought we needed to say it. Not all friendships, not all relationships need a lot of investment. In fact, when you get relationships that are drawing you away from the Lord, the instruction is don't do it. Don't consent. Don't hearken. Neither shalt thou hearken unto him. Neither shalt thou nigh pity him. Don't even pity him. Neither shalt thou spare him. Neither shalt thou conceal him. Now the law was harsh. Thou shalt surely kill him. That's not to you. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. That's not you, literally, but it might mean you need to kill that relationship. There are relationships that in order for you to stay healthy and in the presence of the Lord that you will need to cut off. And I remember walking through, my late high school into early college years, that was the reality. As some of my friends started making decisions that were taking them away from the Lord, I knew that if I kept that relationship, I will go with them. And that's something we have to coach our kids through as well as they get into those years. Be careful the friends that you choose, and it's okay to cut them off. It's okay to say goodbye. And sometimes we're like, but how else are they going to learn about Jesus? Well, man, let's trust that we can keep sharing the gospel with them and that somebody will be there. But if your kid ends up in jail with them, what good is it? Or dead, right? All right, so I want my kids to stay healthy before the Lord. So there's that side. All right, lastly, companionship. We'll do this Just a couple quick thoughts. The last thing, you see the great friendship, the great desire that they have to be in each other's presence. Healthy relationships actually enjoy being present together. You like to be in the same room. You like to talk. Maybe you're a little sad when you're split up. Maybe your heart aches when you're split up, right? All right, so you should have companionship. David leaves Samuel and he goes straight back to Jonathan. They make time for each other. Now they're going to make this whole plan. We're going to skip ahead some verses. And, then starting in verse 24, David goes and hides himself, and Jonathan goes in, and in verse 30 and on, Jonathan goes in and talks to his dad and realizes it's true. And verse 35, and it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David. So this is their secret meetup time, and they do the arrow thing. And verse 41, and as soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of a place toward the south and fell on his face to the ground and bowed himself 3 times. And they kissed one another and wept one with another until David exceeded. They love each other, and they love the presence of each other. By the way, no gay here, all right? We're I'm not going to build out that right now because we only got like 2 minutes, but people who want to read it in. These are friends. These are men that are able, and biblically you see men kissing one another all the time scripturally. We're instructed to greet one another with a holy kiss, all right? But you see David's humility and his love for Jonathan and their desire to be together. David, by the way, who's anointed king, comes out of hiding and bows himself before the current ruling prince, right? He's submitting himself there, and he comes, and they love each other, they hug each other. The presence of each other is powerful. They want to be together. And again, they're able to share emotion, and they're able to build the relationship there. Verse 42, and Jonathan said to David, go in peace. For as much as we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. Not only do you desire each other's presence and company, but you're also able to be apart and able to split. And so Jonathan says, yes, you know what? If I had it my way, we would live together, we would minister together, we would build God's kingdom together, but we have to be split up at least for now. And there's maturity in that side of the relationship as well. That happens in our home a few times a year. I would rather be with Rosie every day of the year, but there'll be moments. Next month, I go to Ireland. I'm going to leave my family. And the ministry requires that for a season. And this is also an important part of healthy relationships. Maturity says, I love your presence, but I also know how to separate when the mission requires it. And all those aspects of the relationship are still there. But also, presence. A couple verses. Job chapter 6, verse 14. To him that is afflicted, pity should be showed. Here's how we ought to respond, in presence with our friends. To him that is afflicted, pity should be showed from his friend. You should go to them. You should be with them. You should empathize with them. Psalm 38:11, my lovers and my friends stand aloof from my sore, and my kinsmen stand afar off. There's the opposite side of it. Here's David in his distress saying, but how come none of my friends came to me? Presence is powerful. When your friends are hurting, go to them. Be with them. Help them. Show pity. But also we can be apart. John chapter 3 and verse 29, one last thought. Jonathan's kind of a picture of all the good people in the Bible. I think Jonathan's also a type of John the Baptist. Here in John 3:29, he that hath the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, which standeth and heareth him, rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This, my joy, therefore, is fulfilled. This is also the type of relationship that Jonathan and David have. He's not the bride, but he's that friend. And he gets real excited when he hears the voice of the bridegroom. Now, there's a lot there. I think John the Baptist has a role in the heavenly kingdom. I think Jonathan is a picture of that. All right, so last idea, though, in terms of presence, listen. The last key was this. Maturity says that I love your presence, but I also know how to manage my separation for the mission. When you're young and you're infatuated in that relationship and the relationship is new, it's like, we want to do everything together. We go everywhere together. And it's like, you can never split up. Listen, that's cool, but there will come a time where you go, you know what? But you need to go and do this ministry, and you need to do that ministry, and then you need to be able to separate and do what God has called you to do and also come back together. Not everything is going to be done 100% together, and that's okay. That's healthy. When I moved to El Salvador, I lived there for 1.5 years, and I was away. I came back for Brandon's wedding, and I think that was it. But really, I didn't see my friends. You know what happened when I came back? And I saw my friends again? It was like nothing ever changed. We just, boom, we just jumped right back in. It's like we could be a part for the mission, and that relationship did not get strained. That relationship didn't. I had another relationship that did get strained, but different story. But my friends, I came back, and I was like, we get, yeah, I'm looking at her. Hey there. Yeah. All right, we are out of time. If you don't know that story, I'll tell it to you another day. Put that last slide up there. Just a few things to take with you as you go, a few thoughts. So what kind of friend are you? And what kind of friends do you have, right? And how can you become a better friend? What do you need to work on, and especially within this room? Do you have friends like that in this room? Because God put us together as a body to minister together, you and me, us. We are Midtown, and we are Faith Fellowship, and we are to minister together. And if you don't have friends like this and like that in this room, then make them. Grab somebody. Ask them to go to coffee with you. Start getting to know them. And then share your heart. Tell them what God is teaching you. And let's build those kind of relationships, because we need to be ready to go to war together for the kingdom. We may lose some. Jonathan, spoiler, he's going to get murdered in a little while. I know, sorry. Sorry. My bad. All right. I love you guys. Make some friends. Be a good friend. And I will see you all next week.